Okay, everyone, so let us continue. This morning we had a look at one of these set of verses, the Jatukanna Manava, the Brahmin called Jatukani, actually, not Jatukanna, Jatukani. And so we're going to be looking at roughly one of these students for every session, roughly. It's not going to be precisely that, but something like that. So there's 16 of these students altogether. We have 8 days, or roughly 8 days, and 2 students per day. So that's kind of 8 times 2 is 16, so it works out really well. And so that's kind of roughly how it's going to work. So what we are dealing with here is the 16 students of this Brahmin called Bhavari, mentioned by Venerable yesterday. And the 16 students travel all this way to see the Buddha. They hear the word Buddha and they get really excited just by hearing the word Buddha. Is that kind of nice? Yeah? Buddha? What do you mean? Buddha? Really? Wow, Buddha. Okay. And then they kind of go traveling because of that. That's really nice. There's something really beautiful about that. Yeah? These days, people hear the word Buddha, they kind of shrug their shoulders, yeah, whatever, Buddha, yeah, big deal. But they had an understanding. Of course, in Pali, in Sanskrit, the word Buddha has a meaning. In English, it doesn't really mean anything. But in that language, it means the awakened one or the enlightened one. So when you hear that word, it obviously has some kind of special significance. And so they travel all this way, and then they start asking questions. And the first of these Brahmin students, his name is Ajita. Ajita literally means the unconquered one. And they start asking their questions. And these Brahmins were really kind of special. You think that when you go to the Buddha, you can ask any kind of question. Of course you can. It depends on where you're at and how your practice is going. But these Brahmins, they already had deep samadhi, many of them. We shall see later on how they attained some of the deepest samadhis that are attainable, the sphere of nothingness and these kind of things. And so they were a very special group of people. They were not just ordinary people. And so we can expect some very profound and insightful questions from these particular Brahmin students. So don't expect things that aren't necessarily simple. But on the other hand, also anticipate that even though they may be a bit complicated, we can always, the meaning can be drawn out from these things, and we can look at some of the implications. The implications are always very interesting here. So I will read through the sutta first of all, Ajita's questions, and then I will come back and look at these things sort of line by line fashion. So this is how it goes, Ajita's questions. By what is the world obstructed? Said Venerable Ajita. By what does it not shine? This is on page 11, by the way, in the booklet. Because of what does it not shine? By what is it stuck? What is its greatest fear? It's kind of interesting, isn't it? You come to the Buddha and you kind of ask these kind of questions out of the blue. It's kind of remarkable, isn't it? I don't know. The Buddha replies, the world is obstructed by ignorance, replied the Buddha. Stinginess and negligence make it not shine. It is stuck by wishful prayer. Suffering is its greatest fear. The streams flow everywhere, said Venerable Ajita. What is there to block them? Tell me their restraint. By what are the streams stopped? The world streams, replied the Buddha, are blocked by mindfulness. Thus, I tell you the restraint of the streams. They are stopped by wisdom. That wisdom and mindfulness, said Venerable Ajita, and that which is name and form, dear sir. When asked, please tell me, where do they come to an end? This question you have asked, Ajita, where do name and form come to an end without remainder, I shall answer you. with the cessation of consciousness, it is there that they come to an end. Those who have comprehended the teaching, the many kinds of trainees here, when asked by me about their conduct, dear sir, please declare it. Not greedy for sensual pleasures, their mind would be unclouded, skilled in all things, a bhikkhu would wander mindfully. That's it. That's plenty enough, isn't it? I shouldn't say that's it. That's kind of underestimating these verses. They're pretty quite remarkable set of verses. So this is very kind of all-encompassing. If you look at those verses carefully, you will recognize that the Four Noble Truths are basically to be found there. It talks about the suffering, the problem of life. You have the idea of the cause of suffering. You have the ending of suffering, the ending of name and form, and all of this. And at the very end, it also talks about the path. So basically, all Four Noble Truths are there in verse form. When it is verse, it's a bit poetic. It's a bit sort of, it's not obvious straight away. You have to kind of draw out the meaning. These verses are very comprehensive. And this is one of the reasons why it stands at the beginning of these sets of questions, the 16 students, because it kind of is a comprehensive, like an overview of all of these 16 sets of questions that are coming from these various students. So this is a Gita, quite broad in meaning, very comprehensive, and at the same time very, very profound. So what is all of this about? Maybe next time you come to Bodhinyana Monastery, you can ask Ajahn Brahm these questions, see what he says. This is a nice trick, isn't it? You see whether what Ajahn Brahm says matches what the Buddha. So you have a little kind of sheet over here. You look at it. Okay, well, what am I supposed to ask again now? Okay, by what is the world obstructed, Ajahn Brahm? That's good fun, isn't it? You have to kind of see what happens when you do this kind of things. And I can guarantee you Ajahn Brahm will give an interesting answer regardless. Even it may not match what the Buddha is saying here, it was going to be a nice answer. Anyway, so the world is obstructed by ignorance, says the Buddha. Obstructed by ignorance. It's a very powerful thing. And to be able to understand what is going on here, you have to understand, first of all, the word ignorance. Actually, we should first of all talk about the word world. What does it mean that the world is obstructed? And basically it means something like humanity. Humanity is obstructed. Just like in English you say the whole world says, or the whole world does something, it means all of humanity. Humanity is obstructed. Individual human beings are obstructed. And the idea here of obstructed is a Pali word nivuta, or nivarana, same word as nivarana, the 5 hindrances. You are hindered by it, you are obstructed by it. There's a very close relationship here between the idea of ignorance and the idea of the nivaranas, the hindrances. The 5 hindrances, very famous. If you don't know them already, I know many of you know the 5 hindrances. If you don't, you will learn them during this retreat, guaranteed. It's impossible to have a whole retreat without talking about the 5 hindrances. These are the main thing that block progress in spiritual practice. So we are blocked by these things. These are the things that kind of stop you from achieving anything, stop you from moving forward. This is the idea of blocking. And the thing that blocks you, the primary thing, even more primary than the 5 hindrances, is this thing that is here called ignorance. The Pali word is avidya. Avidya is the opposite of vidya. Vidya means something like knowledge, understanding, insight. There's te vidya, there's 3 knowledges according to the suttas, and these 3 knowledges, they mirror the 3 knowledges of the Vedas. The Vedas also had 3 primary Vedas. There were the 3 knowledges in ancient India before Buddhism came along. And the Buddha said, I will give these a new meaning. The Te Vidya, instead of being these books that you had to learn by heart, that was really what it was, the Rig Veda, the Yajur Veda, and the Sama Veda, the three ancient Vedas. Instead, these would be about insights. What are those three insights? The insights, the recollection of your past lives, the understanding the laws of karma, and finally, the insight into the Four Noble Truths. These are the Te Vidya that you see at the end of every gradual training. You see these things. And very often these things are translated as true knowledge or something like that. But Ajahn Brahm is the one who said to me, actually, this is what we should call insight. These are the really important things. When you see your past lives, that is an understanding or an insight into the nature of reality. These are the things that really matter. Very often when we use the word insight, we use it for insight meditation and these kind of things. And what that means is that you observe the kind of arising and passing away of phenomena in your body, feelings and phenomena and sensations and these kind of things. This is how it is often used. And that's okay. There's nothing really wrong with that. But it's still pretty shallow. What is really profound is understanding these Te Vidya. This is real insight. And so, Vidya, instead of calling it knowledge, call it insight. Because ultimately it's about understanding the Four Noble Truths. And that is insight. So, avidya is the opposite of insight. Opposite of insight is not really ignorance. The opposite of insight is delusion. Insight means seeing things properly and clearly. Deluded means being blurred, not knowing what's going on, seeing one thing when something else is actually there. Illusion, delusion, misunderstanding of the nature of reality. So instead of saying hindered or obstructed by ignorance, think of it as hindered by delusion. That makes a lot of sense. Obviously, delusion is going to hinder you. Obviously, because you're not seeing things straight. You can't go to university and take a degree in Buddhist studies and think you're going to be okay. You take that degree just as deluded when you come out after that degree as when you started out. You become an academic. You write academic papers for the rest of your life, and when you die, you are still haven't really gotten all that far. You are like the famous spoon in the soup. Does the spoon taste the soup? No, the spoon doesn't taste anything at all. The tongue tastes the soup. So you have the spoon is just the tool. The spoon is kind of stupid. So we need to do more than just study these things. But study, of course, obviously helps. So we are obstructed by delusion. Every one of us. And if you understand what this means, it is kind of concerning. It's a bit worrying. Because the whole point of something like delusion is that you don't know it is there. You are deluded. You think you are seeing reality. You think right now, I can see. There's people. There's kind of ceiling. I can feel a bit of. I can hear this. I can, suffer a bit. My legs are a bit sore. Whatever it is, it feels like we are kind of aware of what is going on. But the point is that we are not. Sometimes you may know that you are a bit deluded. You can feel that you have some strong desires or ill will or whatever it might be. And you know that that is a kind of delusion. You can feel your mind isn't seeing straight. Sometimes you can know it, but often we have no idea that actually we are deluded. This is the problem. And because we don't know, what happens is that we carry on as we did before. And because we carry on as we did before, we never really get out of it. So delusion leads to more delusion. Delusion begets itself. Delusion reproduces itself, again and again and again. And you go around like this. And this is kind of the scary thing about delusion. And once you understand how this delusion is this self-perpetuating force in the world, you also start to understand the importance of the Buddha, the awakened one. You start to understand why people were so happy when they heard the word Buddha, because they realized here is the chance to find the way out of this problem. This is why Barbary was so amazed when he heard the word. He was too old himself to go to see the Buddha, but he sent all his students off. This is why Anathapindika, you know Anathapindika, very famous patron of the Buddha at that time, who built this beautiful monastery for the Buddha. And first time he went to his brother-in-law's house, his brother-in-law said, his brother-in-law was kind of really busy. He was kind of making his house ready, and he didn't even have time to say hello to Anathapindika when he got there. Anathapindika said, "What are you doing? You're not saying hello to me. You're just running around, preparing things, cooking this, cooking that, telling all your servants." These were fabulously wealthy people at that time. Doing all of these things. Usually when I come to your house, you are nice to me. You say, "Would you like a cup of coffee?" No, not coffee. You know what I mean. I'm biased when it comes to coffee. Would you like a drink, whatever it might be. And then his brother-in-law says, "Well, I'm so busy because, there's things to be done." "Well, what are you doing? Have you invited the army or the king or something?" No, haven't done anything like that." "So why are you doing this?" "Because I've invited the Buddha for a meal tomorrow." Anathapindika goes, "Did you say Buddha?" I said, "Buddha." "Did you say Buddha?" I said, "Buddha." "Did you say Buddha?" 3 times, always 3 times, like this. And it's kind of awesome. And then he says, "Oh, I want to go and see that Buddha." And his brother said, "No, this is the wrong time to see the Buddha. You have to wait. You can't just go at any time to the Buddha. The Buddha is special." And he said, "Okay, when can I see the Buddha?" "Tomorrow morning." And so he goes back to his room and he tries to sleep, and he can't really sleep. He gets up in the middle of the night, ready to go to the Buddha. And he says, "Oh, it's all pitch black. Okay, I better go back to sleep again." And he gets up again. Okay, back to sleep. Up again. Okay, the 3rd time. Okay, now I just got to go. And it's really dark outside. He goes to the edge of the city. The gates open. The gods supposedly open the gates for him. And he just walks into the pitch black forest of ancient India, where there are tigers and I don't know what kind of beasts were roaming the woods of ancient India in those days. Probably all kind of dodgy characters, bandits or what have you. And he gets really, really afraid. But the power of the idea of meeting the Buddha drives him on. And eventually, of course, he gets to meet the Buddha. But it's this idea, the Buddha has arisen in the world. There is a way out. We are faced with this seemingly insurmountable problem. We are deluded. We don't know what is going on. We need something to help us, to show us the way. The person to do that is the Buddha, the awakened one. When you hear that word, you get filled with a sense of, wow, this is the opportunity. So the Buddha arises in the world. And what the Buddha gives humanity, and what he gives everyone, not just humanity, he gives that to the devas, he gives that to anyone who is capable of listening. This is why you don't want to be reborn as a kangaroo. Don't be reborn as a kangaroo. I don't know, that's kind of the cuddly animals around here. I don't know what the cuddly animals are where you are from. What are the cuddly animals in Singapore, Sam? What are the most cuddly ones? The snakes? No, no, not the snake. What are they? Singapore, not too many human beings in Singapore. There's not much room for animals. You have to go to the zoo or something. But you realize you have to be around. Kangaroos may look cuddly from a distance, but actually it's not an advisable kind of rebirth. So the Buddha teaches everyone. The Buddha gives the most powerful gift that any one human being can give to another human being, and that is the idea of right view. It is the idea of vidya. It is the potential for insight into the nature of reality. As long as you are deluded, you don't know what you're supposed to do. The Buddha arises. He gives you this gift that gives you an opportunity to get out of that delusion. Right view is the most precious gift that any human being can give to anyone else. Why? Because it gives you this amazing opportunity to get out of suffering and to find something truly meaningful. This is what that is about. And so one of the things that I always found so kind of remarkable is you may have heard about the gradual training. This is the training that you're supposed to do when you start out on the Buddhist path and you kind of start practicing. You keep your moral precepts and you do some meditation and you try to become a bit wiser and you read the Sutta as the word of the Buddha, all of these things. But what is kind of amazing about the gradual training, one of the things that really struck me when I read it, it's not the first time I read it because I was too stupid in the beginning to really understand. I'm not saying I'm particularly smart now, but I, hopefully a bit better than I was when I started out. What is really kind of striking about it is that it starts off with the arising of a Buddha in the world. The training of an individual human being starts out with the arising of a Buddha. And you may think, what's that got to do with me? I train. It means that I have faith in the Buddha, maybe, or I have keep my precepts, I meditate, but the arising of the Buddha is kind of completely out of my control. And that is precisely the point. The point is that these things are outside of your control. The point is that the path only begins when something happens that is outside of your control. And that's kind of, again, concerning. Because without that Buddha, there is no availability of right view. But you don't know when that Buddha is going to rise. So it's more like just chance. You are there because of the right circumstances happen to come together, and so you have this opportunity. But if the Buddha does not arise, you don't even get the opportunity. So you kind of, almost like you have to be lucky in a sense. Of course, it's not really luck, because everything is cause and conditions in the Dhamma. It's not exactly luck, but it shows that there are long periods of time when there is just really darkness, and there isn't that availability of right view in the world. It takes the arising of Buddha, and that's when our path begins. The Buddha says, the world is like this. And if you have faculties that you are able to understand that what the Buddha is saying is really worthwhile, if you have sufficiently powerful spiritual qualities to be able to understand that, then you will take it on board. And you think, wow, this is interesting. So congratulations for having come on this retreat. It means that you have sufficient understanding, that you have come here, to kind of take an interest in the Dhamma and take an interest in these teachings. So well done. Now is the next thing to do then is to use this opportunity properly, understanding the amazing gift that the Buddha has given each one of us to enable us to practice this path properly. We should take it, we should treasure it, and we should practice it in the right way, because the Buddha has opened up something, right view, that is so difficult to find in the world, and that is what now is available to us. So we are hindered by ignorance, but then this opening comes of right view in the world. The Buddha making it possible for us to overcome this delusion, this ignorance that is always there obstructing what is going on. And this is kind of what this is about. So what is that right view? Well, as I just said, that right view starts off by understanding that there is something like superior people, if you like. There are people like Buddhas in the world. If you don't believe that there are Buddhas in the world, if you don't believe that there are people who have special insights and understandings, then there is no chance. There's nothing you can do. If you think that, no, I don't want to, I don't believe that any human being can achieve insight, I think that's kind of nonsense, and I would rather believe in a creator God. The creator God, I find that more safe, because creator God, they are very powerful, they can help me. When I do wrong, then they will kind of forgive me, and I go to heaven anyway. So that's what I want to believe. But is it realistic? I don't want to know if it's realistic, I just want to believe it, because that's the easy way. What if it doesn't work? What if you believe in the creator God and the creator God lets you down? Because it wasn't the creator God after all. It's a dangerous game to gamble with. You can't just believe stuff because it's convenient. You've got to believe it because it's true. And if it isn't true, there's a big problem there. So we have to be really, really careful there. So if you already have a sense that there are human beings in the world, that there are people like the Buddhas, and then the people who practice according to the Buddha, the Aryas in the world, you already have have a very powerful starting point, because you have understood something very profound. Or if you haven't maybe fully understood it, but at least you have faith and confidence that that is true. That's already something very, very worthwhile treasuring. That's the beginning of right view, the start point of what right view is about. So, and of course, there's other things that have to do with the right view. Some of the most important things, there are lots of aspects of right view, and sometimes I like to give whole retreats simply on the idea of right view and delving into it, into all those details. But of course, some of the most important things are things like the idea of rebirth is a very, very important part of right view. There is a large part of Buddhism in the world today where they reject the idea of rebirth. They say, we don't want to believe in rebirth. We want to be secular Buddhists. But it doesn't make you secular because you don't believe in rebirth. Because secular just means that you want to reject the religious stuff. Rebirth is not religious. From a Dhamma point of view, it's the truth. This is the way the world is. You don't become secular by rejecting rebirth. You become silly by rejecting rebirth. You become a silly Buddhist, not a secular Buddhist. That's the problem, yeah? We think that modernity, we are more sophisticated, and so we throw out the ancient truths that the ancient people discovered because we prefer modernity to the ancient times as if it is a given that modernity must be right about some things. I mean, anyway, people don't know anything about the mind anyway, so why should we kind of hold on to these modern views? We are just biased in a certain way. Much better to hold on to what the Buddha said, and there is no doubt that the Buddha taught rebirth. If he taught anything, he taught rebirth. So rebirth, fundamental importance. The mechanism of rebirth, karma, also very important because it means that it starts to show us the way out. And of course, the idea that there is an ending to all of this, there is a way out of suffering. All of these are aspects of right view. There is much, much more to it. And we could spend in a sense, you could argue that the whole Sutta, Pitaka, all the discourses given by the Buddha, the four main Nikayas, the long discourse, the middle discourse, the connected discourses, the numerical discourses, and a bit more like what we're doing now, which is outside of that. All of that is really just right view. It's the right view in 10,000 pages. But that is really what it is about. So enjoy that right view. Allow that right view to gradually grow inside of you. Right view is not something that you either have or you don't have. It's not like, I believe in rebirth, so now I have right view. It's not quite like that, because it is about the depth of your understanding of rebirth. It is about how you feel it. Do you feel rebirth deeply inside? Do you really understand, have a sense of what it is? Then the more you feel it, the more visceral it is, the more it becomes an emotional thing for you. And when it becomes an emotional thing, then it starts driving the path. We are driven by feeling and emotions. Everything is about feeling. Do we enjoy it or don't we enjoy it? That's what matters in human life. And so make it something emotional. When it becomes emotional, that is when it becomes powerful. So reflect on it. Try to understand it from various angles. Read people's experiences with rebirth or with near-death experience and these kind of things to get the feeling for what is going on. And it will change your attitude to all of this. And it becomes far more interesting and useful as a consequence. It becomes right view that is solidly founded and becomes a driver of the very path itself. So right view itself develops over time. As your meditation deepens, your right view becomes stronger because then you read the suttas in a new way, you reflect in a new way, things become more meaningful, things start to fall into place. You start to understand the limits of sensuality. The more peaceful you are in meditation, the more you understand the limits of sensuality. Because sensuality, by its very nature, is agitating. It's restless. It is not peaceful. It is the opposite of the peace of meditation. So, ignorance, delusion, we are obstructed by it. So one of the interesting little things in the suttas about the connection between avijja, delusion, and this being obstructed is that the one thing that supports delusion is the 5 hindrances. These obstructions are supportive of delusion. So delusion is obstructive, but in turn they are kind of conditioned or supported or held up by the nirvanas, the other obstructions. Yeah? So you cannot see delusion because you are obstructed by the nirvanas. It's like this kind of circular thing. Yeah? Delusion itself is a kind of obstruction, and that obstruction is the nirvanas, which kind of reinforce delusion, and there seems to be no way out. And so the 5 hindrances are the support of delusion. So if you can eliminate the 5 hindrances, basically you have taken away the supports for delusion, for avidya. It doesn't have any support anymore. Yeah, and of course, this is one of the things that these very young Brahmins, or maybe they weren't so young, they're called Brahmin students, but sometimes you're called a student even though you are in your 60s. But anyway, you know what it's like, you were kind of a disciple of someone else, that's why you are a student. They had those kind of mind states. Yeah, they had some very profound samadhi. They were already, to a large part, free of those hindrances. So the mind was kind of ready here for insight, ready for understanding reality. The support for delusion was gone. The hindrances weren't there anymore. And so sometimes you can see how most Buddhists aren't even there. You were not even there where these kind of Brahmin students were. In some ways, they were more developed than many Buddhists are. Probably the vast majority of Buddhists. How many Buddhists have that kind of samadhi? Almost nobody. It's very, very rare. And so, you know, sometimes you can kind of see that there are different ways of developing the mind. Even though they had a bit of wrong view, they had many other things. And so we should also aim for that, overcoming the 5 hindrances. That is where delusion is no longer supported. The moment you overcome the 5 hindrances, that is when insight can happen, because the support for delusion is gone. That's why end the 5 hindrances. Then have insight. How do you end the 5 hindrances? It's a beautiful sutta called the Avidya Sutta, which is the delusion or ignorance sutta, Anguttara Nikaya 1061, which I often read out on these retreats. And it says, on the one hand, it says that the 5 hindrances support delusion. On the other hand, what supports the opposite of delusion, which is insight, that is supported by the 7 awakening factors. The 7 awakening factors is the opposite of the 5 hindrances. They are like the inverse of each other. If you want to understand the 7 awakening factors and the 5 hindrances and how they work counter to each other, you should read the Bojjhanga Samyutta, the connected discourses on the awakening factors found in the Samyutta Nikaya. There's a large number of suttas on this inverse relationship between the two. And so as you develop the awakening factors, you are diminishing the 5 hindrances. And at the highest stage of these awakening factors, which is samadhi, the samadhi sambojjhanga, the awakening factor of samadhi or stillness, not concentration, but stillness. Yeah? If you want to stay at Bodhidharma Monastery, you have to say stillness, not concentration. Go to say concentration, you have a little mark against your name. No, I'm being silly. You don't get a mark against your name. But for good reasons. Yeah, stillness is a better word than concentration. And so when you reach that samadhi, that's where the 5 hindrances are gone completely. Prior to that, there's always a residue left of the 5 hindrances. This is why samadhi is so critical on the Buddhist path, because only at this point have you eliminated those 5 things that stand in the way of true insight or real insight. At that point, when those bojjhangas are developed fully in this way, that is what we're trying to do. This is one reason why the Noble Eightfold Path ends with the 4 jhanas, because that is the real samadhi that we're all trying to develop. At that point, delusion is fundamentally weakened. All the supports of delusion are gone. And now that is why insight becomes possible at that particular point. It's kind of one of those very interesting things that the Noble Eightfold Path ends with samadhi. It doesn't really even say anything about wisdom. Wisdom is just a natural outcome of that ending of the 5 hindrances and the achievement of samadhi. So achieve that samadhi, the 7 bojjhangas. How do we get those 7 bojjhangas? How do we cultivate those? And the Buddha says, the 4 satipatthanas, the 4 applications of mindfulness, or the 4 mindfulness meditations. How you get that? How do you get the 4 mindfulness meditations? The 3 kinds of good conduct, the tini sucharitani, good conduct by body, speech, and mind. How do you get that? Oh, I'm going to be on thin ice now. I think it is the... is it Satisambhajanya? Is that the right sequence? Sati-sampajanya, says my teacher over here. Thank you, Venerable Karunika. So Sati-sampajanya, which is kind of clear mindfulness and clear comprehension. And the cause of that again is Indriya Sangvara. I think I got those the right way around, or is it the other way? I can't, you're probably right. Sense restraint, comes from that. And then the cause of sense restraint again is it Yoniso Manasikara? So Yoniso Manasikara, okay, my memory is a bit blurry, that's terrible. Yoniso Manasikara, which is wise attention. You're attending wisely to things. You know what is going to give rise to defilements and what is going to not give rise to defilements. Yoniso Manasikara, wise attention in turn, is supported by faith or confidence. You're listening to the Buddha because the Buddha tells you how to practice. That means you attend in the right way according to the teaching of the Buddha, and you develop your mind. Why do you have that faith and confidence? Because you have listened to the teachings. Why have you listened to the teachings? Because you have been hanging out with the Sappurisa, the superior people, the Aryans in the world. Sappurisa sangseva is the Pali word. Literally means associating with superior people. And so the root cause is associating with superior people. Number 1 of superior people, the Buddha. The Buddha is the beginning. The Buddha arising in the world, as I said before, is the beginning of the gradual training. Right view, which you get from that Buddha, is the beginning of the Noble Eightfold Path. Here you find that you start off with hanging out with superior people. You see how all of this is so intertwined, all of these suttas, how they all hang together so beautifully. It starts out in the same way everywhere. It's just such a wonderful thing, this suttas. It all is one tapestry, one picture, presented in various ways in different places. It all comes together in this beautiful thing we call the Dhamma, which is like the overall view of what is going on. It is one of the things that I was so impressed with when I came to Bodhinyana Monastery. I came to Bodhinyana Monastery back in 1994. It's a long time ago now. 32 years soon. Wow, seems like a long time. And I remember this, in those days, Ajahn Brahmali would still teach the Sutta, as he doesn't teach the Sutta so much anymore in the monastery. And I remember, because before that I had been to some monasteries elsewhere, but I remember Ajahn Brahmali was the first person who showed me how to read the suttas. He would read the sutta and he would bring in other suttas and show how they buttressed each other and how they all weave together into this beautiful tapestry called the Dhamma. That was kind of Ajahn Brahmali. And that tapestry of the Dhamma, what is that? The tapestry of Dhamma ultimately is like emptiness. There's different ways you can think about it, but ultimately it's like emptiness. Or maybe it is like the brilliant sun, the flash of insight, the lightning flash in the dark. That lightning flash in the dark, when you pull it apart and you see what's there, it transforms into 10,000 pages called the Suttas. That's the lightning flash in the dark for you, what it's all about. And as you weave it together, you bring it together back into that lightning flash in the dark. Go to see the Aryas, listen to the Dhamma, gain faith, practice wise attention, have the sense restraint, have the sati-sampajanya, the right conduct, practice the 4 satipatthanas, 7 factors of awakening. And when you take those to the very pinnacle, then the insight comes, which overturns that delusion. And that nivarana, that obstacle on the path called avidya, is gone because of that. That is how you bring this to an end. So this is the obstacle of the avijja, the obstacle of delusion. Yeah, it's this incredibly concerning thing if you understand it properly. And if you understand it properly, you become really kind of a bit, really get the sense of urgency. I got to do something about this now, because now is the opportunity. Now the teachings are still available. Now I still have a body that is healthy enough. Yeah, now is the time to do this. So this is good. Are you still translating into Chinese? Yeah? Okay, that's... Yeah. That's amazing, yeah. I've seen, Sam has been coming to my retreats in Singapore and many places, and she always translates into Chinese character for her mum. That's really kind of cute. That's really very impressive. So everyone shall become less deluded, hopefully, because of that. So this is, the world is obstructed by ignorance, right? Trying to avoid that obstruction. And this is why it matters so much, and why it is so hard to get out. And why, how this can gradually happen, the elimination of this avijja. That is the main thing I wanted to talk about. But let me talk about these other things a little bit as well, because they are also interesting in their own way. You can see how these retreats can go on for a long time. That was one line, and I almost used the whole hour going for that one line. So I could have gone on for quite a bit longer, but I think it's time to kind of stop there. The next line is, said Venerable Ajita. I have good news. I have nothing to say about that line there. So that's... So because of what does it not shine? Because of stinginess and negligence make it not shine. So stinginess here, I had a look at this word. Vivicca is the Pali word. It means it literally means non-desire, it means desire or greed. It's an intensified form of the word for greed. Ichcha is desire, so it means like greed. So greed and negligence is actually a better translation probably here. Greed and negligence make the world not shine. Make people not shine, make individuals not shine, make you not shine, make me not shine. Everyone does not shine because of greed and negligence. Why is that? What is it about greed that makes us not shine? And the answer, I think, is that greed gives you a very small kind of mind. Greed, you become very self-concerned. These are my things, keeps your hands away. Don't take that which is mine. No, this is my stuff. I need all of this massive bank account because of security in the future. Some people have maybe grown up in a deprived family and they are afraid of losing their things, so they hoard stuff just to make sure that they are kind of, set for the future or whatever. And they become very greedy. They hold on to their things. And it becomes a sad kind of existence to live like that. It becomes a very small-minded existence. It becomes a fearful existence, where you are afraid of other people. You're afraid of society. You're afraid of what's going to happen to things. You always have to have more locks and kind of look after everything. You cannot just live with open doors because that's kind of too scary. It's beautiful to be able to live with open doors, to live in a way where you kind of feel secure. It's your village, you can trust everyone, don't have to lock things up or anything like that. And if people want something from your house, okay, please take it. Can you live like that? If someone wants something from your house, oh yeah, that's fine, neighbor, just go grab whatever you like at my house. And this is one of those things that you'll be surprised. This is actually from the Vinaya Pitaka. The Vinaya is the discipline, the rules and regulations for the monastic order. So this is relevant both for the bhikkhus and the bhikkhunis. Yeah, we have the same rules, basically. There's some variation, but very small differences, really. And one of those rules is that it's possible to have something that is called taking things on trust. So if you have like a close friend, you can say to them, oh yeah, whatever is mine, you can just grab it. And Ajahn Brahm has said that to me. He said, well, if anything you need, just go to my cutie and take it. I said, okay. And I know that if I were to go to Ajahn Brahm's Kuti and just take anything from there, yeah, I mean, if I really need it, not because I'm greedy. If I was greedy, he wouldn't be too impressed, obviously. But if I was really desperate, maybe my robe was torn, I needed to borrow a robe quickly, he would be very, very happy for me to just grab anything in his Kuti. That's kind of what Ajahn Brahm is like. He doesn't have a very strong sense of this is mine, this is the boundary between my property and your property. Yeah, you need something, you can take it. It's a beautiful way of living. It's a beautiful idea of sharing everything you have with the world around you. Suddenly, the world doesn't look dangerous anymore. Suddenly, everyone you meet are kind of potentially a friend. They are potentially someone you can help. Someone that can actually benefit from what you're doing. There's a beautiful story in the Suttas with Gatikara the potter. Gatikara Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 81, I think. Gatikara Sutta. And Gatikara the potter, he lived under the previous Buddha Kassapa. And one day he was out on some business. And when he came back to his house, all the thatch of the house, you know thatched houses, like straw roof, yeah? Like they have in the old houses in England or whatever, they have straw roofs. And one day he came back to his house, the thatch was all taken from his house. And he said, what happened to the thatch on my house? And so he went to his parents. His parents were old, they were blind, so he Gatikara was kind of looking after his parents because they couldn't look after themselves. And he says to his parents, what happened to the thatch? It's all gone. And they said, Buddha Kassapa, yeah, he didn't have any thatch for his Kuti, so his kind of disciples came and took all the thatch from our house. And what did he say? He said, sadhu, 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 how wonderful, how amazing that the Buddha Kassapa has so much trust in me, that he knows I will be overjoyed if he comes and just takes the thatch off my house. Isn't that great? There's something very beautiful about that, right? There's something very attractive. The generosity goes so far that you are willing to give up anything that you have for a greater purpose. Yeah, if you need something, please come to my house. Even take the roof off the house if you need it. Yeah, that's what he was saying. Yeah. There's something really fabulous and wonderful about that. But please don't come to my Kuti and take the roof off. Yeah? That's not what this means. It's not an invitation to take the roof off my Kuti. And of course, if you do that, it shows you that you have this incredible, expansive mind, expansive heart, where you are sharing with the whole world. Yeah, it is the opposite of this kind of narrow mind that doesn't shine. This is the mind of metta, the mind of karuna, the mind of rejoicing with the whole world, the mind which is which shines in the way that we're talking about here. So if you are generous, your mind shines. If you are stingy, you have the opposite. So please be generous in your life, in all the different ways of being generous, by helping out, by giving things, by whatever it is. There's so many ways of being generous, because it is a beautiful way of living. Giving, supporting, understanding the suffering in the world and how much good we can do through generosity is such a powerful understanding. And this is the only reason why it is one of the foundations of the spiritual path, is the idea of generosity. And then you have the idea of negligence. The opposite of negligence is pamada. The opposite of negligence is appamada, obviously. And in the suttas, the opposite is things like carefulness or heedfulness, or sometimes maybe diligence can sometimes be used, although I think that word focuses a little bit too much on hard work, but it's much more than hard work. It's about the care, the circumspection that you put into things. You remember the last words of the Buddha, the Vaya Dhamma Sankara Appamadena Sampadeta, very, very famous words found in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta. All phenomena have the nature to fall apart. Practice with heedfulness. Appamadena Sampadeta, carefully, with circumspection. If you are the opposite, if you are a negligent person, if you don't really think about what you're doing in life, if you're not circumspect, you become kind of stupid. This is how we see a kind of lack of wisdom in the world, when people just act rashly without taking sufficient care. This is a sign that someone is not really worthy of much attention. You don't really listen to people like that, who are rash, don't really consider their actions properly. Someone who is wise is someone who holds back a little bit, someone who considers what is going on, what is the right way of doing things here. This is the wise person. Often they will be energetic as well. They will have this beautiful energy of the mind that enables them to make good decisions in life. So this is another aspect that makes you shine, shining with wisdom. Wisdom is always the candle we light in the dark. Light is a symbol of wisdom, shining through wisdom. This is how a wise person is. So greed and negligence make people not shine. People are stuck by wishful prayer. Wishful prayer here is an unusual Pali word called japa. You can see the Pali on the left-hand side there. Japa, abilepana. Abilepana is like stuck or mired in. Japa is japa is this strange word that means both prayer and desire at the same time. And that is a little bit like in English language as well. When you pray for something, it can mean that you just desire for something. You're hoping for something. Oh, I pray it goes well, It doesn't mean you're praying to God, it just means that you are hoping for something. So even in English, it has that kind of double meaning. And the same thing seems to be the case in the Pali language. And that double meaning is very important right now, because we're dealing with Brahmins. And one of the things that they did was to pray. They had all of these gods. They had kind of, I don't know what gods they had in those days. Brahma, I suppose. I don't know if they prayed to Brahma. Usually they would pray to other gods like Prajapati and what have you. But that's kind of what they did. And prayer is often this feeling. Prayer can be many things, but one of them is to hope to be supported by your God. May my God support me. You pray to God, and then God looks after you in return. Prayer can mean many things. It can also mean more like meditation. It depends on how you use the word. But it certainly means this idea of asking for protection from God, to look after you. Excuse me. And this is what these people did, these Brahmins. And that prayer is very similar to the ordinary desires that we have in life. The reason why we pray is because we have ordinary desires. And those ordinary desires may express themselves through prayer if it is hard to kind of, sometimes in the old days you didn't know whether the season were going to go well, and if the season didn't go well, the crop wouldn't become ripe, and then you might starve in the next season. It was very difficult, and you needed support from the gods. And if the gods didn't do the right thing, it would be really difficult. But of course, it's true also in the present day. People still pray to God all the time, in all kinds of religions. In certainly Hinduism in the present day, they have all kinds of gods they pray to. That no religion has more gods than Hinduism. Even the monotheistic religions, you pray to God. But what is really concerning is that even in Buddhism, people pray to God, or the Buddha, or not even the Buddha. Sometimes they pray to the Hindu gods. This is kind of the weird thing about Buddhism. You go to many of these temples in Sri Lanka or Thailand or Buddhist countries, and they have like the Buddha over there, and then they have like the Hindu deities over here. And it's like they pray to the Hindu deities and they go to bow to the Buddha afterwards. So the Hindu deities, they will kind of look after your worldly concerns, and the Buddha will look after your higher spiritual concerns. This is kind of how it works. We haven't learned anything. It's right here. You're not supposed to do this. The Buddha said it 2,500 years ago. What happened in those 2,500 years? Nothing. Still the same problem. So it's kind of silly here. We have kind of merging all of these religions together. We're not really practicing the Buddhist way. But it shows the needs of human beings. We need that sense of being looked after. We need that. But of course, the Buddha says that all of that wishing, all of that prayer, the problem with it is that you get stuck to the world. This is the glue that glues you to the world. This doesn't really help you at all. It just prolongs your journey in samsaric existence. The prayer to God is an illusion. Are there gods that can help you? Maybe sometimes there are, but it doesn't happen through prayer. If you want the gods to look after you, the way to do that is to live morally. Then maybe they will look after you. I mean, if you offer some little food on the shrine in your kind of backyard to a god, are those gods going to eat that food anyway? They have much better food up there, you know. The kind of food we have is kind of very boring for those gods. They're not interested in our food, yeah. Oh, here is an orange, Vishnu, please take this orange and then look after me. No, forget about oranges. I have much better oranges up there where I come from. And so we pray and we have all of these desires. And that sticks us. We get stuck because of that. But more importantly, of course, that all the craving and all the desire we have in the world, that very craving is what actually binds us to the wheel of samsaric existence. The Buddha has this beautiful expression in the Suttas that we are hindered by ignorance and fettered by craving. Ignorance makes us blind, or delusion makes us blind. Craving fetters or ties us to samsaric existence. Craving is a desire that is always about the future. We are like projecting ourselves into the future by always craving for something else, something more, some renewed existence, bhava tanha. We talked about the ogas yesterday, the floods. One of them is the bhavoga, the bhava or the oga, the flood of existence. Bhava tanha is another way of talking about it, the craving for existence, the craving for sensual desires, always moving on into the future. And because it is always moving on, we are stuck to that wheel of craving, driving the process of rebirth, bringing us forward forevermore. Maybe not forevermore, but for a long time, unless we do something. So we are stuck by these things. The last thing, what is the greatest fear of the world? Suffering is the greatest fear. Nobody wants to suffer, and yet life is full of suffering. Life is impossible to get away from suffering. Death is always around us. This is one of the reasons when people see the wars in the world, they kind of despair, because we understand intuitively the suffering that comes with war. The last thing we want is war. And when you see war in the Middle East in the news, you know it can come to Australia as well. Because we are not really separated. This idea that we are somehow separated is just an illusion. Before you know it, you are going to be engulfed in that war. And that's kind of very unpleasant. Why? Because we fear suffering. That is why. I was talking yesterday about the use of social media and mobile phones and these kind of things. And a lot of that, I think, is driven by suffering. We have an inner kind of unease, an inner lack of contentment that always needs some kind of distraction. And because of that, we endlessly distract ourselves. And because of that, we never really learn anything. So one of the things that we need to do is to face up a little bit to our fears, to understand more about suffering. And one of the things that you will hopefully learn a bit about on this retreat is suffering. What does it mean to be a human being? When you take away all the things that paper over the underlying problems, you understand, you can feel yourself. Now you know what it means to be human. This is what it means. Gee, I'm not sure if I want to know this. Because sometimes it can be painful to be a human being. There's all this stuff going on inside of us and inside the body or whatever. It is not easy to deal with. But unless we learn to deal with it, we're not going to be able to transcend it. Hopefully, on a retreat like this, you also learn a bit about the opposite, about the happiness that can come when we are able to let go a little bit, when we're able to find some of that peace. And suddenly we see the contrast between the ordinary suffering and of the life and some of the happiness that can be found on the spiritual path. The greatest fear in the world may be suffering, but the Buddhist path is the one that promises a solution to that problem in our life. And this is why this path is so valuable and so beautiful and so powerful. And the way it is presented in the suttas, it is very believable to my mind. The way the Buddha talks about it, it seems very realistic. If you're ever going to overcome suffering, this must surely be the way. Okay, so that is the suttas for this afternoon. So please carry on enjoying yourself, and we will see you back again for some more meditation, guided meditation again this evening at 7 o'clock here.